Hello, this is Denton Yoder, instructor for BSE 2304, the Biological Systems Engineering CAD class. In today's class, we are going to do some grading. We are going to create a pond. It's important to know that there are hundreds of different things or types of things you can grade, and we're just kind of doing an introductory to the tool to give you some ideas. We'll be doing two different types. But before we start, I took one of our previous assignments, the D6 drawing, where we created a surface, existing ground, and I'm going to turn off the fence row and also the buildings. I see a nice little spot here on the right where I have a kind of a looks to me like a gully going down. I can check it by putting my cursor there. That's 2024. This one's a little closer, 2030. Okay, so that's 24, 2030. This is going uphill. There's 35. So we got 5-foot contours going down right here. Okay, I'm going to put the pond right here. I'm going to start by drawing a rectangle. I'm going to draw the rectangle at 200 feet long and 125 feet wide. Okay. I'm going to move my rectangle up into the gully. I'm going to rotate it so it lines up more with the contours. I'm going to fillet it. The fillet command, F for fillet, lets me set a radius. I'm going to put a 25-foot radius on it. The polyline option in fillet lets me do all four corners of the rectangle I made all at one time. Now, this upper contour was my 2030. Okay, so I'm going to set this line's elevation to match this upper contour by going to Properties window and Elevation 2030. Actually, I might go a little higher. No, 2030 is fine. I'll change it again later. Okay, so I've set an elevation on my pond. A handy way of doing this, I'm going to do an O for offset, 10 feet, and offset my pond to the outside. And what I'm making is kind of a flat track. Hopefully it'll become more apparent when we look at it in a cross-section. Both these lines should now be at elevation 2030. I'm going to raise it up a little bit more. I'm going to say 2032.5. Okay. By going with an odd elevation, my rim will not be on an even foot, and it'll give you a little different view of it. Okay, so I have my pond location. What I'm doing is making a ring, both at the same elevation. The outer part needs to tie into the grading. So what it'll do is it'll step down to the next contour interval and tie in at this contour, draw around it, and tie into that contour. And then these are 5-foot contours on the screen, but it'll do it for each contour down. 5 contours will be down here. 10 contours will be out here somewhere. But anyway, let's see how it looks. The grading tools. Grading, create grading, will give me my grading toolbar. The very first item in the grading toolbar creates a grading group, and it's going to make it grading group 1. I'm going to change it to grading group pond. The things you'll want to do is turn on automatic surface creation. Choose what display style you want on your designed surface. I like the 1 in 5 design. I think it'll look good. And the volume base, we need to turn that on. So with automatic surface creation on and volume base on, I'm okay. It says I'm going to make the grading group pond. Okay. Now we can skip all the way down to the drop down for what type of grading to do. We can grade a distance, we can grade to an elevation, we can grade to a relative elevation, and we can grade to a surface. The interior of our pond, it's real nice to grade to a relative elevation. And then if I come over to the Create Grading pull down, which was the default, Create Grading, grab my inner ring, and it says, what site do we want to call this? I like pond, so I'm just going to leave it. The defaults are actually fine on here. I'll do an OK. Grade, it says select grading side. I'm going to grade to the inside along the entire length of this. If you wanted to do different slopes at different areas, you could say no and put in stations and slopes, but I'm going to say yes to make it all one. And it says, what is the relative elevation? If you want to go down, you got to use a minus. I'm going to say -8 to make this pond 8 feet deep. Enter. And it says, do you want to put it in by slope or by grade? It's very common to use slope. I'll explain both of those later, but slope, I can hit enter for slope and do a 3:1, which means give me a 3-to-1 slope, go over 3 and down 1. And it said, boom, here's your 8-foot deep pond. The other grading style we're going to use on the outside is grade to surface. And what we're going to do is grade to surface, grade the outer line, okay, to the outside over the entire length. And it wants to know both a cut and a fill slope. So a cut slope means if I have to haul dirt away, how steep of a bank can I make it? And for a cut slope, I can make it pretty steep. 3-to-1's good, but I could even go down to a 2-to-1 if I wanted to, but I'm going to stick with a 3-to-1. And it says, oh, excuse me, I got to hit S for slope and then 3-to-1. And it says, what about a fill format? I'm going to do slope again. On a fill slope, I'm going to do 4-to-1. What that's saying is, if I have to build up a dam on the bottom of this, what slope should I use? And a 4-to-1 says go 4 feet for every foot you drop. And that's going to be much more reasonable on a fill slope. And I'm done creating grading, but I still need the computer to understand where the center of the pond is and where the rim of the pond is. Right now, I'm going to escape out of the grading. There's a little diamond on the screen for each of the 2 pieces of grading I've done. I'm going to add 2 more as infills. And infill means make sure you calculate the bottom of the pond and the rim of the pond. Enter to get out of that. I'm actually done. I've made the pond. To verify that I like the pond, I can go down into the site section of my prospector bar, expand sites, expand grading groups, and look at my grading group pond properties, and go to the properties tab, and it says you are cutting 1,000 yards of dirt and you're filling 3,500 yards of dirt, so you have a net result of 2,500 yards of fill. What this is telling me is that I dug out a bunch of dirt for the center, but that was only about 1,000 yards of dirt. But I made this huge bank over here on the left of fill dirt so that my pond would be flat. And that is way more dirt, so I need to buy dirt. Well, I don't want to buy dirt. So the thing I'm going to do is move my pond down. I'm going to make it lower. If you try to select your pond, you're not going to get everything correctly. The way you need to select it is on grading groups. You can right-click, select, and that selected the grading objects. Now that I've selected them, I can do any command I want. I'm going to type M for move. The move command works in what we call a noun-verb selection. So the way you learned it was move and then select the objects. But if here I selected the objects and then typed move, it works both ways. Okay, so it's already selected to my objects. It says, where do you want to move them? When you learn the move command, you probably learn to pick it up and set it down with 2 picks. You can also use a displacement option. The displacement option is the default, actually. And what that does is instead of giving 2 picks, you just give it 1 coordinate and it'll move that amount. So with the coordinate I'm going to give it is 0 in the x, 0 in the y, minus 2 in the z. When I hit enter and it says, do you want a second point or do you want to use the first point as a displacement? I'm going to hit enter again to use the first one as a displacement. It'll recalculate, drop everything 2 feet, and now I can look at my properties again. So now I have 2,300 yards of cut, 1,800 yards of fill, and my net is now 500 yards of cut. So I'm moving 2, 3, 4, 40, about 4,200 yards of dirt, and I have 520 left over. Let me find a calculator. Do I have a calculator? My kingdom for a calculator. Calculator. So if I took 520 divided by the sum of the amount of dirt I'm moving, 2, 3, 4,200, I'm going to call it, equals, I'm at about a 12% leftover cut. That's pretty awesome. I bet if I move this down another ½ foot, I'd be even closer. If I move it too far, I'll go the opposite extreme. But anyway, I'm in cut situation. Actually, I'd want to move it up if I wanted more fill. Okay. I can balance my earthwork if I move it up just a little bit more. If I want to, like on a midterm, I might say, let me select it. I might say, hey, if you grade within a certain percentage, you get extra credit. It might happen. Let's see. Okay, so I selected the object, move, 0 in the x, 0 in the y. Let's move a ½ foot up. Enter. Check our grading. Boom! I'm at 160 yards cut. If I go back to my calculator and said 160 divided by, I'm at 4,200 equals, I'm at about under 4%. I'm under 4%. That's sweet. I also have, 160 yards of extra dirt. I have 160 yards of extra cut. It's good to have a little extra cut. because I can always haul dirt away. If I have extra fill, that means I need to buy dirt, and that's usually a problem. But you want the number to be pretty low so you don't have to haul much dirt away. Okay, so what we've learned is we can do any kind of grading we want. We can grade a distance, take a line at an elevation and grade it a distance. We can grade it to an elevation, to a relative elevation, which is what we used on the inside, and to a surface on the outside. It doesn't have to be a closed loop. It could just be a line, or it could be other shapes. Okay. We also learned we can move it around. We can move it, rotate it, move it up, move it down. And we learned how to find out how much dirt we moved by going to the properties on the site. Now, a couple more things I want to do. One thing I want to do is add a profile across here. So I need a north arrow, I need a profile, I need a scale bar, I need a paper space, all that. To do that, I'm going to I for insert. I'm going to browse to my C drive, VTCAD, see if I have a north arrow in here. LMN. I have no north arrow? Interesting. Okay. Let me go to my Google Drive. My Drive 2018 class. CAD tools. There's my north. I've got a couple norths in here. North angle triangle, north arrow. I don't know what scale I need this to be, so I better wait. Okay. So I need to know my scale. Well, let's do the profile anyway. Profile. Polyline across the site. Select it, right click, quick profile, show both grades, okay, and put it over there. So the ground was sloping. I put a pond in, digging out the middle and building a bank on the bottom like a dam. Bingo, that's my pond. Okay, let's look at it in paper space. I'm going to explode these three pieces so that I can keep them. Okay, paper space. I need a layout. Control 2 gives me design center. Copy a D size into my drawing. Go to my D size. Go in an M view. UCS, back to world, plan view. There we go. Zoom in on my pond. Let's say I want my pond oriented a little more horizontally. I could set my UCS up on the object of my profile. Make that plan. There we go. Regen will recalculate the size of the triangles and things. Scale. I want the viewports toolbar. It came in way over there. I don't like that spot. Put it over here. I want 1 to 20. Try that again. 1 to 10. Okay. 1 to 20. 20 I think is going to work. That's centered pretty good. Double click on the right to get out of model space. Display locked. Yes. Oh, that's funny. My scale was already 1 to 20. That is pretty funny. So that means in the model space, I would want to insert my north arrow, insert, browse. I've got that on the G drive. My drive, 2018, CAD Tools, north. North arrow. I'm going to want mine 20 scale. I'm going to want to choose where to insert it. And probably right there. So if I go back to my layout, yeah, I can see by looking at my north arrow that this is oriented a little different. Okay, I also need another M view. And I can see by the color I put it on the wrong layer. So I need to put it on my M view layer. I really should check by typing LA for layer. I really should check that my M view layer is a no print layer, because that's a point on my, yeah, it's a no print. I want to check that because that's a point on my homework. Okay, double click inside the M view to get the model space. Zoom in here. 1 to 10. No. 1 to 40. Still no. 1 to 50. 1 to 60. I think 1 to 60 will work. Double click outside. I can make my box a little bigger. Probably make it a little taller too. Double click inside, pan that down a little bit. Double click outside and lock that. Display lock, yes. So by locking it, if I double click inside, I can't change the scale. It's locked. Same with that one. Double click outside. Double click outside. Okay. So I've got my M views. I've got them locked. I need to insert a graphic scale here. I should already have it in my drawing. Graphic scale bar. Specify on screen. Okay. Put it right here. This one is 60. 120, 180. 60 feet tick. Bingo. If I go to the command plot, I'm going to say always do the single sheet. Preview. Boom. It's perfect. All right. That was today's lab. Take care.